On February 8, 1587,
one woman was executed not because she commanded soldiers,
but because she represented a future that power could not control.
Mary, Queen of Scots, was born into power, crowned as queen when she was still an infant,
Raised among European royalty,
connected by blood to the most powerful royal families in Europe,
she was not just a person, she was a claim.
a living claim to thrones, a living claim to legitimacy, a living alternative to existing power.
To her supporters, she was the rightful Queen of England,
To her enemies, she was instability in human form.
and in systems of power, instability is more dangerous than rebellion. For nearly 20 years, Mary lived not as a ruler, but as a prisoner, held in England under the authority of Queen Elizabeth I. She became the silent center of political gravity in every crisis, every rumor, every conspiracy, every fear, not because she commanded armies, not because she led revolts,
But because she existed in a divided Europe where religion, monarchy,
and loyalty were inseparable. Identity itself was power. Catholic nations saw Mary as restoration.
Protestant England saw her as a permanent threat, foreign powers saw her as leverage, and Elizabeth's government saw her as a risk that could never be neutralized. Because power systems do not fear action as much as they fear alternatives, Mary represented another future,
Another ruler,
another line of legitimacy.
another possible history. And power does not tolerate competing futures. Over time, pressure grew.
Plots were uncovered,
Letters were intercepted.
conspiracies formed and collapsed, fear hardened into policy.
The question was no longer whether Mary was dangerous.
The question became whether the system could survive her existence. And eventually, the decision was made,
Not to isolate her,
not to silence her voice,
not to control her influence.
but to remove the symbol completely. Her execution was not just punishment.
It was not just justice.
It was not just law.
It was political surgery.
A system cutting out a destabilizing presence.
When Mary was executed, something deeper changed in how power operated. It proved that legitimacy could be more dangerous than rebellion. That symbolism could destabilize nations.
That bloodlines could threaten empires. That identity itself could become a political weapon.
Her death stabilized Elizabeth's rule. It reduced internal unrest.
It reshaped European diplomacy. It redefined how monarchies dealt with symbolic threats.
It showed the world that power does not only fight enemies,
It eliminates alternatives. It does not only defend itself.
it redesigns the future. And it does not fear violence as much as it fears meaning.
February 8, 1587, reminds the world that power is not always loud.
Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is procedural. Sometimes it is calm. Sometimes it is legal. Sometimes it is justified.
And sometimes it is absolute. Because systems do not think like humans.
They think in stability, continuity, and survival. Why do we learn history every day?
Because understanding how power removes symbols helps the present generation recognize when authority is protecting stability and when it is eliminating choice. History is not old. History is living inside us.
One day, one event.
One lesson.
Mr. Feedy,